Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is math, obviously. I am super pumped. We are almost done with week 5. So crazy, but you guys are doing great. All right. So Monday we talked about customary measurements. Sorry for that noise. That was my ring hitting the desk. Anyway, customary measurements, which is what the U.S. uses. It's like inches, feet, yards, things like that. Yesterday we talked about metric measurements, which is what pretty much the rest of the world uses. Science uses it, things like that. That's a lot more clear cut and dry. It's not random numbers to convert to. It's just by powers of 10. Today, we're going to mix them together. We're going to find out how to go from one to the other. Woo! Please don't freak out. This is not on your quiz tomorrow, okay? So we're just learning it. Don't freak out. Don't feel like you have to know it perfectly before tomorrow, because that is not the case, okay? So let's take a look at our chart, or at our page, I mean. You do have a chart, though, on this page. So again, I'm not going to go over all of them in depth because you have it in front of your face. But I do want to review our rule. If we are going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, you're going to multiply. But if you go from a smaller unit to a larger unit, you're going to divide. So we need to keep that in mind. Okay? So we're going to look at numbers 1, 3, and 5 together. Number 1 says 12 gallons is how many liters? 12 gallons is how many liters? So let's look at our chart. We see that 1 gallon equals, it's all the way to the right under capacity. We see that 1 gallon is 3.79 liters, which shows us that it's what? It's bigger than the liter. So if we're going from bigger to smaller, we're going to multiply, okay? So I know that 3.79 liters is in 1 gallon, and I need to know about how many are in 12 gallons, okay? So I do my 2 times 9 is 18, 2 times 7 is 14, 15, and then 6, wait, add 1, 7. That's why you write things down, because then you forget. And then 0, and then you have the 9, the 7, and the 3. And so then you have, I have to put this down, I'm sorry, it's getting really messy. 8, 5 plus 9 is 14, 7 and 7 is 14, plus 1 is the 15, and then 3 and 1 is 4. So this is what I have. However, we are not done yet. And why is that? You can't see it very well. You can see it better on your chart. We have a decimal there with 2 place marks. Two decimal places, sorry. So then you're gonna go over 2, the same amount. We have 45.48. But we are still not done. Still not done. Because our directions say round to the nearest 10th. And where is the 10th place? Immediately after the decimal, where that 4 is. So remember, to round, you look at the number to the right. If it is 5 or bigger, you will round it up, and every other number becomes 0. So you have 45.5, that'll become 0. Because it's on the end of a decimal, you don't need it. So we have 45.5. If you would like to include the 0, you may. But we're rounding to the nearest 10th, which is why I didn't. Okay? Now, looking at number 2. Number 2 is going to be a little interesting because it's going to get intense. So we can already assume that inches to meters, inches is going to be smaller. And if you look at your chart, that's confirmed. 1 meter is 39.37 inches. So if we're going from inches to meters, from smaller to larger, we are doing what? We're dividing, okay? I'm just going to tell you right now. I was trying to work it out earlier in a very simple, easy way. It's not going to be super simple, super pretty, or anything like that. We have 2 decimal places here. We have the 39.37. And we don't want to divide with decimals, remember? So we're going to move our decimal over 2 places, but we have to do the same with this one too. So I've got my 39.37 and my 125. I want to move this over. So if I move it over 2, this goes over 2, I get 2 zeros. So now we're dealing with 3,937 and 12,500. Much bigger numbers, but at least there's no decimals. All right, so then I set up my division. I'm just gonna tell you right now, it doesn't look very simple. In fact, it's a little overwhelming. So what I'm going to start out, I'm still gonna write it out. So I'm still gonna write 12,500 and 7, 3. And so I'm gonna still write it out, but I already know, I'm not gonna know off the top of my head how many times this goes into this. I'm not gonna know right off the top of my head. However, I do know that 1 does not go into that, or this does not go into 1, this does not go into 12, this does not go into 125, and this doesn't even go into 1,250. So I know that all of these are zeros, and I'm starting at the last 0. I do know that. So we're gonna start there. So let's try some multiplication to figure out, right? Together. We're gonna choose 3. We're gonna start with 3. That's always a nice number to start with. So 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 3 is 9, 10, 11. 3 times 9 is 27. Add the 1, you have 28. And then 3 times 3 is 9, 10, 11. So now I have 11,811. I'm erasing that multiplication so we have more room. When I subtract, I can't take away from the 0, so I have to borrow. That becomes 10. This also becomes, that becomes 9 because it was representing 8, 10. So I have to borrow from here to make it a 4. That becomes a 10. Then it becomes a 9. I just don't have room for that. So 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. I cannot do 4 minus 8, so I have to borrow, and this will become 14. So I have 14 minus 8 is 6. 1 minus 1 is 0, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So I'm left with 689. So I do know that my answer is 3. I cannot go lower or higher than that. Now, I'm going to rewrite my number so you guys can see it nicely. 12500. Now I have to add another decimal and a 0. Remember? Another decimal and a 0. That drops down, 6,890. Okay? So I know that it's not going to go into it 3 whole times because it barely went into that 3 whole times. So let's try with 2. All right? We're just going to try 2. So 3, 9, 3, 7 times 2. 2 times 7 is 14. 6, 7, 18, carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6, plus the 1 is 7. That's too big. So we know that it's 1. We have to add our decimal. So then we do 3, 9, 3, 7. Can't take away from the 0. 8, 3, 5, 9, 2. So, again, can't do that. If I add the 0, 29,000. Okay. Sorry, I got very close to the camera. Apologize for that. So for 29,000, this could just keep going. But for 29,000, the way I'm going to show you how to do it is I know, let's see, this was 3, right? To get to the inside the 12,500. So if I'm going all the way up to 29,000, that's at least twice that. So it's going to be at least 6. So if I just, even if I just put a 6, I can round from there. All right? So 3.16 can be rounded to 3.2. That's my answer. I know that that one was a lot, which is why I mentioned that at the beginning, that it was going to be a lot. But here we are. Look, we got our answer. All right, and then number 5, 34 inches to how many centimeters? We already know inches is bigger than centimeters, so we're going to multiply because we're going from larger to smaller. Okay, so we know that there are 2.54. I'm going to write it and then put it up. 2.54 centimeters for every inch, and there are 34 inches. So So we have 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20, 21. Then we have 8, 10. Erase those. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15, 16. And then we have 7. Okay, add these up. We got 6, 3, 6, 8. All right, but we're not done yet. What do we have? Decimal places, yay. And there are 2 of them. So we go 1, 2, 86.36. Again, 10th place. We look, it is 5 or bigger, so that'll go up, 86.4. Okay? I know that this is a long video, but I wanted to make sure you guys really understood how to do it, and kind of how to make the big division a little bit less, okay? If you have any questions, let me know.